At religious festivals, devotees demonstrate the strength of their belief by subjecting themselves to a ritual which seems more akin to torture than spiritual devotion. The holy men who perform here claim that their faith defeats pain. For centuries, these ceremonies have played an important part in reinforcing religious beliefs. But this demonstration is different. The crowd are not pilgrims, and the volunteer is no holy man. He is a local boy, a college student, taking part in a campaign to debunk superstition. His aim is to show that anyone can fly with hooks in their back, and that the supernatural powers claimed by religion can be explained by science. One in 6 of the human race lives in India. Nearly 1 billion people striving to become a developed nation. The country is investing heavily in science and technology. It's a major producer of computer software. 15 years ago, India launched its first satellite. But the country is still very poor, and the benefits of technology are thinly spread. The average income is less than £1 a day. Half the population is still illiterate, and education has failed to banish superstition. In the mind of most people, the occult is more potent than technology and science. Superstition, unquestioning belief in the supernatural, is worldwide, but India is its most spectacular showcase, and at every level of society, it provides power for those who can exploit it. Patients of this Bengali fakir believe that the magical fire he produces with simple chemicals will cast out disease. In a trance, this holy woman treats the sick and foretells the future. Her performance attracts hundreds of believers to her tiny shrine. They bring their ailments and worries, seeking guidance on business, love, and their children's health. And supernatural tricks win influence and votes. This holy man, Pilot Baba, claimed he had spent 4 days underwater. Skeptics revealed he could have had a secret supply of air, but his devotees remained convinced of his divine powers. After emerging from his tank, the Baba gave thanks to God and endorsed the local Congress Party candidate for the forthcoming election. Amazing acts are performed in the name of religion. All over Asia, Hindu and Muslim rituals offer a catalogue of bizarre feats demonstrating the power of faith over flesh. Devotees believe that religious fervor will not only conquer pain, but even suspend physical laws altogether. Walking on coals, piercing the skin, subjecting the body to apparently gruesome abuse have proved to be a powerful means of inspiring religious belief. And one of the biggest gurus of them all, Satya Sai Baba, enjoys a worldwide following numbering millions. His supernatural feats are legendary. His devotees regard him as a living god. He delights them at his daily audiences by magically producing holy ash and scattering it on the crowd. The people who follow him are not just poor and uneducated. They comprise much of the country's intellectual elite.
This country is unique in having at least 400 or 500 men and women who not only claim to be incarnations, but gods themselves, gods or goddesses, and people believe and worship them. A man like Sai Baba of Puttaparthi has following running into millions, which include the president, the prime minister, cabinet ministers, governors of states, chief ministers of states. At many times, some decisions and particularly appointments are made in consultation with them. He's only one of them. There are so many more. And they may have local influence, but people like Sai Baba have a national influence.
T.N. Seshan is one of the most powerful men in India. He is chief electoral commissioner and has been tipped as a future president. He is also one of Sai Baba's most conspicuous devotees.
I went to Sai Baba last week, and he gave me this ring out of nowhere. It's just set with 9 gems. There's a ruby in it, there's a pearl in it, there's a sapphire in it, there is an emerald in it. There is a diamond in it. God knows what else, 9 stones. And he realized this for me out of nowhere. And now I can touch it, I can pull it. Now you will say, I don't believe this. But it happened to me personally. And I am not a jungly kind of person. I've got a master's degree in physics. I got a master's degree in administration and economics from Harvard. I find nothing contradictory between that physics and the fact that I believe that this came out of the blue.
Professional scientists do little to challenge such beliefs. This Sai Baba shrine in Bangalore, the center of Indian science and technology, attracts professors from national research institutions. Experts in engineering, aeronautics and geology gather to worship a man they believe has superhuman powers.
People can be a little divine, they can be extraordinarily divine. And he is one such incarnation. We consider him divine. There's no question about it. I have been a scientist, I was a non-believer in Sai Baba himself. But today, I'm an absolutely firm believer. I've seen things happen right before my eyes. And the ring I am wearing here, you may perhaps like to picture this. It was materialized, it was created by Sai Baba, just by a wave of his hand. And to prove that there is no hide and seek in this, at one point of time when he produces a lot of this vibhuti, as we call it, or the ash, the white ash that you see. In Puttaparthi, where I went for the first time to meet him, what he did was, he asked me whether I am going to use this vibhuti. Then I said yes. Then he gave it to me. He materialized once again by a small wave of his hands. He circles his hand like this, and these things appear in his hand, and he gives it to you. Just to make me believe, because I am a scientist skeptical about this, he raised his hand like this, and then rolled up his sleeve, and showed me his armpit. He says, people say I hide these things in my armpit. Do you see that? I said, no, I have no explanation. So, definitely, Sai Baba can transport material, can materialize anything he wants. There is no doubt about it.
The scientist's faith in his guru may have blinded him to alternative explanations for these supernatural feats. P.C. Sorkar is India's best-known stage magician. He sees nothing extraordinary in making jewelry appear from the blue.
It is all tricks. We call it palming or sleight of hands. See, out of this particular finger, I am bringing one ring out. And I'll give it to you. And when he comes forward to take it, I give it to him, and it melts away. And then I say, come on, it can come out of here. So, producing things out of thin air, it is no magic at all.
Scientists may believe that their guru can suspend the law of physics at whim, but skeptics are now questioning the evidence. This video of Sai Baba is now being circulated secretly in India. It appears to show the godman using a stage magician's trick to produce a gold necklace for a distinguished guest. Just before he hands over an award, his fingers seem to be searching for something underneath the wooden box. He then draws back his hand, waves it around, and the necklace appears as if from thin air. The event was witnessed by India's Prime Minister and recorded by the state-controlled Indian television network. But after an editor drew attention to the apparent trickery, this footage was not broadcast. Among the skeptics now speaking out against the godmen is lawyer K. Balgopal. He led a private prosecution alleging that Sai Baba's materializations were a breach of gold bullion import regulations, as well as the law of physics.
Here is a person who claims to materialize something from nothing. Supposing Sai Baba were to materialize food, water for the common man, he were to solve the problems of the common man. Irrespective of his antecedents, I would have respected him. But here is a man who caters to the elite, who gives them gold necklaces. They don't require it. He gives them diamonds. These things are meant for the poor. Instead, to the poor, he gives holy ashes.
The skeptics are not just worried about the guru's political influence. They fear they may also be doing medical harm. This Swami dresses in pink silk and offers healing to his patients by playing classical ragas on a Japanese synthesizer.
It gives energy and also calm and also heals also.
To diagnose cancer, heart disease and AIDS, he uses a collection of crystals which, he says, emit rays of light only visible to his eye. The crystals tell him the disease patients are suffering from. He treats them with a touch from his crystals and by having them listen to his music.
This crystal shows colors and which row sits, people sitting, they shows different colors and vibrating like a small bulb. So then very easy to recognize, oh, how many lights, the blue lights, oh, 12 lights. Today 12 cancer patients sitting in this hall. So then I will announce, in this gathering today, 14-member cancer patients, 12-member heart patients, please stand up. Then Swamiji is calling and then giving advice. Please change your doctor. Or you can go ahead, only this medicine, continue this medicine. And you are wrong diagnosed. Please come near me. Then I will give to something to you. And Swamiji is recommending this particular raga in this moment. You can listen half an hour. And then Swamiji giving some healing stones also.
The Swami then surprised the film crew by materializing a trinket from the bottom of his favorite crystal.
This for you. The coral Ganapati. It's not magic, but it's only token like a chocolate.
It's charming, and it's an illusion.
We magicians, we tricksters, we wizards, we manipulators, we do it many, many times as a part of our business. But if we turn the whole thing and if we take the attire of a god man, pretend to be something great or with divine power, then I become a Baba. But we don't want to do it. We are artists. We want to entertain people, but the people who do that, their intention is bad. They are pushing the society towards the negative direction. Science is trying to forge ahead, and they are pulling it towards back. It should be stopped.
And here comes one small band who are trying to stop it. The beaten-up minibus has been hired by the Indian Rationalist Association, a group of activists who are travelling through the southern state of Kerala to promote their National Miracle Exposure campaign. These rationalists are mostly students, teachers and young scientists, educated but not wealthy. Every day they set up their banner in half a dozen villages and present a roadshow to expose the tricks of the godmen. Their leader is a journalist, Sanal Edamaraku. He begins by showing photographs of senior politicians with a famous godman. The same godman was later jailed for running a prostitution racket. He then performs Sai Baba's magical trick with holy ash, producing cascades of the sacred substance from a pellet of compressed ash concealed in his palm. To be told that such a revered godman is a trickster is a direct challenge to these people's beliefs. They are keen to examine the evidence for themselves. The next trick is one performed by godmen to convince followers they can produce fire by mental power. In fact, it's all done by simple chemistry. The paper has been treated with potassium permanganate, and when glycerine is poured on, the paper bursts into flame.
In the Indian villages, the people are really superstitious, and there is a very clear, which we would like to explain as scientific illiteracy. Above the normal illiteracy, that's scientific illiteracy. Even in a state like Kerala, where the literacy level is almost 100%, the scientific illiteracy is enormous. So this campaign, which is reaching around 100 districts all over the country, it will be talking to people directly and explaining the so-called miracles. And through that, we are trying to get people out of the superstitious belief. And maybe every meeting we are getting some 200 to 500 people listening us, and the word is spread, and it's reaching people very fast.
These rationalists are attacking superstition rather than religion, but in India, the two have become deeply confused. This is an everyday miracle, frequently performed at festivals and temples all over India.
In many of the temples, when there is a festival, people do some miracles like piercing on their cheeks. It's generally believed that it's possible only because they are blessed by the goddess or gods. They're trying to tell people that these kind of superstitions are meaningless, and these are taking them backward to the 18th century. So we have to continuously keep them aware that these are mere tricks.
Contrary to appearances, piercing causes very little damage and even less pain. It would probably hurt if someone did it to you against your will, but these strongly motivated volunteers barely feel discomfort when they stick the needles in. The pain is more in the mind of the beholder. The fleshy areas which are pierced have no large blood vessels or bones. If the skin is stretched before the spike goes in, the flesh hardly bleeds. Fire eating is also a lot less dangerous than it looks. The standard technique in religious festivals is to use pieces of camphor which catch fire at a very low temperature. The bottom of the camphor remains very cool, so it doesn't burn. When the mouth is closed, the flame is quickly extinguished by the carbon dioxide in the breath. Encouraged by the rationalists, a member of the crowd has a go for himself.
Fine, excellent.
The rationalists will be on the road for many weeks, funding their campaign with their own money and time. No religious festival would be complete without a firewalking display. Devotees are told that their faith will prevent any pain, but these rationalists reject faith and put their confidence in physics and physiology. The thick skin on the soles of the feet is a slow conductor of heat, and so is the ash on top of the embers. If you keep moving, the fire has no time to burn through the skin.
It doesn't hurt at all. Anybody who can have a little bit courage can do that thing and it doesn't hurt. But all the same, when we do such things to expose the miracle men and the god men and the gurus, there are people who are the agents of the gurus who try to sabotage such programs. They sometimes try to put sugar into this fire so that it melts and sticks to the people. Then they normally claim that it's because we are challenging the gurus and the gurus' wrath is on you. Now we are very careful that they don't put either broken glasses or sugar into the fire.
Broken glass and sugar may not be the worst the rationalists have to face. Their challenge to the godmen is just beginning. The good humor of this campaign may be tempered by conflicts to come. One of the main aims of the rationalist movement in India has been to show that stunts which purport to be miraculous can in fact be performed by ordinary people, untouched by religious faith. Veteran guru buster B. Premanand has trained hundreds to perform the most dramatic displays from the godmen's repertoire. These volunteers are local men, mechanics, lorry drivers and clerks. Like their teacher, most of them were brought up as Hindus, but have rejected their religion. But they are keen to show that rationalists can put on as good a show as any holy man. Today's volunteers are an engineer and the secretary of a local rationalist club who has never tried this kind of stunt before. At religious festivals, devotees pull wooden chariots with hooks threaded through the skin of their back. Premanand's men are going one further. They're going to haul this jeep.
Samama? Even Arka?
There is no pain, first of all.
No pain.
No pain. And the second thing is, our 3 layers of skin can take a weight of 80 kilos. And here pulling a jeep by hooks on the body is easier because 2 people are putting forth. And it will be very easy.
Cheering themselves on by chanting the name of a local rationalist hero, the volunteers prove the strength and elasticity of their skin, a test of physiology rather than faith. And when the hooks are withdrawn, there's no bleeding at all.
This is only manpower, not anything extraordinary, like God. Any man can do this thing if he is an unhealthy man.
No, fearless.
Fearless. When fearless.
I believed in all these miracles as a person born in a Hindu family. I thought I should also have such powers. And I went around India to find out a guru who can give me such powers. I had to return back when I found that they were all tricksters.
Now 65, Premanand has spent 40 years campaigning against fraudulent godmen. He has compiled a dossier of 1,500 spurious miracles and publishes details in his own journal, The Indian Skeptic. And his campaign is gathering momentum. He now runs training courses for young guru busters. This man is learning how to levitate. When he's safely landed, Premanand reveals a supernatural secret.
What is the hidden thing? These are the hidden things. He simply gets up with the stick and people think it is the feet. And he just lifts up with the head like this and people think he has levitated. And then he comes down, and then he goes to sleep.
This macabre stunt is often performed by holy men, but the volunteer today is a manual labourer, and he has never done it before. With the cloth tied over his face, he is stood on his head and planted upside down in a hole. Then the hole is filled with sand, and his head is completely buried. But the man doesn't suffocate, because the sand is dry and air can still get through, just enough for him to breathe.
For the past 50 years, I've been in search of a miracle. And my one ambition is to see a miracle before I die. If any one of you believe that you have seen a miracle, please let us know where it is happening so that we can come there and see whether it is a real miracle. And if it is a real miracle, let me die peacefully seeing one real miracle.
Miracles are a mainstay of religion, and not just in India. They have more popular appeal than intellectual theology. And by exposing miracles as fraud, rationalists strike at the roots of popular belief. But apart from the fraud, what is the rationalist objection to religion? And what do they believe in themselves?
What you can't prove by your reason, you reject. I think it's the simple definition I would give. I can't prove the existence of God. I reject God. I would leave it an open question. I can't predict the future. I don't know what will happen to me after I'm dead. So I reject theories of the day of judgment or rebirth or reincarnation.
I am a rationalist. and that's my religion. But that doesn't mean that I do not believe that life is not mysterious or not wonderful. Mathematics or music or reason can create such structures of infinite complexity which are far more mysterious and beautiful than the structures offered by magic, by Sai Babas.
We can't go on being backward and irrational and steeped in superstition. A certain group has to keep fighting against it in the hope that we will succeed in the end.
One of the most determined campaigners is Prabir Ghosh, a psychology graduate who has written several bestsellers debunking religion, witchcraft and faith healing. For Dr. Ghosh, rationalism is more than a fight against superstition. He believes that religion is an instrument of suppression which fosters fatalism and powerlessness.
আমরা চাইছি সমস্ত মানুষরা বুঝতে পারুক যে আসল সত্যিটা কি। তোমার বঞ্চনা কারণটা কিন্তু আকাশে গ্রহ নক্ষত্র নয়, পূর্বজন্মের কর্মফল নয়, বা কোনো ভগবান ঠগবান ঈশ্বর বা গড কিচ্ছু না। কতগুলো মানুষ তোমাদের ঠকিয়ে তোমাদেরকে এরকম অবস্থায় নিয়ে গেছে, এটা আমরা বোঝাই, মানুষ বুঝতে পারে, আমাদের সঙ্গে আসে। আমরা চাইছি যে যাতে নাকি এরা সমস্ত কিছু ব্যাপারগুলো জানতে পারুক, এদের কি কি অধিকার আছে, সত্যি বাস্তবটা কি জানতে পারলে এদেরকে যেভাবে শোষণ করা হচ্ছে সেটা বন্ধ হবে।
Rationalism attracts young Indians who have rejected their traditional upbringing. It offers a new belief system which they are disseminating with evangelical zeal. The Calcutta rationalists distance themselves from political parties, which they regard as corrupt, but their ideology is unmistakably left-wing. And this is more than an intellectual crusade. In Bengal, the rationalists are organized, disciplined, and preparing for a fight. This is their defense wing. Young people who are being encouraged to link their love of sport with the rationalist cause. The training is not just for show. Prabir Ghosh has learned the value of self-defense.
কারণ আমাদের তো এমন অনেক সময় হয় যে অনেকেই আক্রমণ করে, অনেক গভর্নমেন্টরা, এমনকি অনেক পলিটিক্যাল পার্টি আছে যারা আমাদের ডিসলাইক করে, আমাদের মুভমেন্টটাকে আটকাবার চেষ্টা করছে। সেই ক্ষেত্রে আমরা অনেক সময় এরকম ধরনের স্ট্রেংথ ব্যবহার করতে নিজেরাও বাধ্য হই আমাদের প্রোটেকশনের জন্য।
Legally we cannot carry weapons as in some of the Western countries they can carry, so we've got to protect ourselves barehanded, and karate is the best media. These young people, they are not aware of our rationalist movement. Their father and mother are aware of their rationalist movement, and they have sent these children to our association so that we can build them up as good rationalists.
No, Bobby.
Okay, all right.
If they claimed to be godmen, people would probably believe their powers were supernatural. Every weekend, Prabir Ghosh and his young volunteers go on the road, exposing quackery and fraud and seeking godmen to confront. Their target today is a fakir called Mr. Ali, who is using a bizarre therapy to treat the sick. His patients come with all sorts of ailments to sit in a magic square he has marked in the dirt and undergo his ritual of purification. Medical quackery is one of the rationalists' main targets. In the country areas where they campaign, the local doctor is often absent, working in the city where there's a better income to be made. The gap is filled by healers with magical rather than medical skills. Having baptized her with the healing flame, the fakir gives his patient a cotton band, a charm to complete the cure. As far as the rationalists are concerned, these faith healers are frauds, exploiting ignorance and need for personal gain. As his mullah recites verses from the Quran, Mr. Ali makes fireballs by throwing a mixture of camphor and resin through a flaming torch. It's simple chemistry, made to look like magic. This is not the first time the rationalists have come to confront this fakir, but public exposure has done little to harm his reputation, so they are ready to have another go. The fakir sets great store by his rituals. Onlookers are strictly instructed to keep outside the magic square, and to keep their hands by their sides to ensure that the magic works. Prabir gives the fakir a few minutes to display his skills before making his move.
আপনার হাত বাঁধা অবস্থাতে আগুন জ্বলবে হ্যাঁ জ্বলবে আগুন জ্বলবে হাত বাঁধা অবস্থাতে আগুন জ্বলবে হাত দিতে রাখুন আপনারা প্রত্যেকে হাত দিতে রাখুন আগুন জ্বালিয়ে দিচ্ছি আপনারা যেরকম বলেছেন আগুন জ্বলবে না আগুন জ্বলে যাবে হাত বাঁধা আপনি বাঁধুন আপনারা সবাই আগুন জ্বালিয়ে দিতে আপনি যা খুশি মন্ত্র বলুন আমরা আগুন জ্বালিয়ে দেবো উনি যদি দেখাতে না পারেন সব আল্লাহ কি করবে আমাকে করুক না এখন আগুন নিয়ে কি খেলা করা যায় সবাই পারবে আমি তো বলে দিচ্ছি আগিয়ে বলে দিচ্ছি সবাই পারবে চললো কিনা হাত বাড়ুন দারুণ চলাই দেখুন চলবে সব ধাপ্পাবাজি বলেছিল না হাত বাঁধলে চলবে না হাত বাঁধুন এই দেখুন আগুন চলবে কিচ্ছু হবে না কিচ্ছু হবে না হ্যাঁ না এবার মেনে নি আচ্ছা আপনি এক কাজ করুন আপনি গন্ডির বাইরে বসুন এই দেখুন গন্ডির ভেতর নয় গন্ডির বাইরেও আগুন চলবে So he was a total fraud. He said that if you keep your hands clasped, there won't be any fireball. But you see, we have done the fireball. We have kept all our hands folded, but still there was a fireball. Whether it is within this square area or not, it doesn't matter. You come out of the square area, then also there will be the fireball. আপনি তো ইঞ্জিনিয়ার বলছেন না আরেকটা মিথ্যা কথা বলেনি আপনার প্রবীর ঘোষ মিথ্যা কথা বলছে এটা সবাই ছিলেন আমাকে তো টেপ ছিল না ক্যাপচার ছিল না যুক্তি দিয়ে সবাইকে ভালো সেই জন্য তো এসেছি দরবারে আমরা বসি
When you see Prabir and his boys approach thin village fakir sitting by the under thorny tree, the whole thing seems, you're training field guns at a mouse, but it is not so. The confrontational approach is absolutely necessary. They are not fighting that one single man. They are fighting a whole cloud, an environment, a whole ether of ideas. And they are trying to cut through the weeds and slash through the rainforests of dark beliefs.
এক ধরনের অসুখ আছে যেটাকে বলা হয় সাইকোসোম্যাটিক ডিজিজ।
Having grabbed the attention of the crowd, Prabir launches into a lecture on how faith healing works.
শারীরিক অসুখ সব সময় বিশ্বাসে সারিয়ে দেওয়া যায়, সব সময়। আমরা
that every confrontation with the godmen, I see Prabir winning. And the crowd, which was initially on the godman's side, sway and come over to Prabir's side.
It is not scientific.
Totally false. Totally false and false.
The rationalists may have won over some of the local people, but the fakir is not giving in. The colourful sideshows conceal the symptoms of social and economic distress. This is a country where women are still burned as witches, and where modern medical technology is used to abort hundreds of thousands of fetuses every year because they are female. It's a country where capitalism, communism and religious sectarianism fight for political ascendancy, and where the outcome is still far from certain. It is a country where elementary education is meant to be available to all, but where millions of poor families need their children to earn a living instead. The rationalists, with their campaign against superstition and traditional beliefs, are a new element in this volatile society. In West Bengal, medical services are sparse and not improved by the reluctance of doctors to work in rural areas. They leave the field open for quacks. Twice a week, several hundred people, most of them women, line up to consult a holy woman who has gained a reputation for healing and prophecy. The healer jerks her head, closes her eyes, and puts herself in a trance. Sick people come to her. She is also consulted by the unemployed, the lovelorn, and other people worried about their future. She mutters to herself and occasionally to her patients. She treats the sick by laying on her hands and blowing on their head. Every visitor gives a few notes or coins. She doesn't have fixed charges, but in the week, the donations add up to more than the salary of a newly qualified doctor. She has assumed the spirit of a god, so people are prepared to give freely. Patients get about a minute each before being ushered out to her dispenser, who provides them with a handful of flowers and a cotton thread for their arm. The pond next to her shrine is believed to be holy. Mothers are told to wash their children in the water to bring down their fever. Bottles are filled with pond water for the healer to bless and turn into medicine. This god-woman is to be one of the rationalists' next targets. But today Prabir is making a reconnaissance visit to check the lie of the land. He poses as a patient and tells the healer his doctor has diagnosed an HIV infection. She tells him not to worry. Though her advice may be suspect and her treatment may be crude, she attracts hundreds of patients. But for Prabir Ghosh, her popular appeal does not justify the damage she is doing.
এবং তারা যে বিলিভ করছে এর জন্য দুটো একরকম হচ্ছিল, তারা হয়তো ডাক্তারের কাছে গেলে ভালো হতো, তারা মারা যাবে, হতে পারে। আরেক রকম হচ্ছিল যে তারা সত্যি হয়তো সাইকোসোম্যাটিক ডিজিজে ভুগছে, যেটা হয়তো বিলিভের জন্য তারা ভালো হয়ে যাচ্ছে। অর্থাৎ বিলিভের জন্য ভালো হতে পারে। এমন অনেক ডিজিজ আছে যেগুলো সাইকোসোমাটিক ডিজিজ, যেগুলো ফেইথ হিলিং হয়, যেগুলো আমরা বলি প্ল্যাসিবো ট্রিটমেন্ট, অর্থাৎ বিশ্বাস অসুখ সেরে যায়, সেরকম ধরনের অসুখ সারতে পারে, এর বাইরে কিছু না। কিন্তু সত্যি যাদের ডিজিজ আছে তাদের কখনো ভালো করতে পারবে না। আমরা এইটুকুন বলছি, যদি নাকি 5 জন রোগী এনে দেই, 5 জন রোগী এনে দিলে এরা 5 জন রোগীকে ভালো করতে পারবে না যদি তারা সাইকোসোমাটিক ডিজিজ তাদের না থাকে।
The healer herself admits that faith is important.
হয়তো যারা ভালো, যারা মানে চাইছে যে এটা ঠিক, তাদের কাজ হয়ে যাচ্ছে। হয়তো যারা হয়তো মনে ভাবছে যে এটা হবে না, তাদের হয় না।
But some medical problems they confront are far from psychosomatic. Snakes kill thousands of people every year. Many would not die if they received proper treatment, but a lot of people in rural areas don't go to a medical center when they are bitten. They consult a traditional healer instead. This snake handler is a professional, hired by the rationalists, who regularly put on public demonstrations to illustrate the dangers of traditional therapies. The vipers and cobras he is displaying are deadly. But 90% of Indian snakes are not venomous. And that's why the traditional healers do good business. Not because their remedies work, but because patients who are bitten by a harmless snake will recover whether they get treatment or not. It is the 10% who've been bitten by a poisonous snake who need proper treatment, but they often don't get it. Today's demonstration is in a small town close to the border with Bangladesh. This healer has accepted a challenge from the rationalists. If he can cure a deadly snake bite, he will win 100,000 rupees, about £2,000. The challenge has stirred local passions. A crowd of several thousand has turned out for the spectacle. For treating a snake bite, healers charge as much as 3,000 rupees, which could be several months' income for a rural family. The crowd is getting restless. They know that someone will be humiliated today, either the healer or the rationalist. Then the subject of the demonstration is brought forward. The next 2 minutes may cause distress to some viewers. A bite from this cobra could kill a human within hours. The healer's skills are going to be severely tested. The healer begins his therapy. He sprinkles the dog with water. He then chases out the poisonous spirit with a cloth, chanting prayers and mantras. Ten minutes have now passed. The healer continues with his mantras. But after 20 minutes, the effect of the poison starts to show. The dog begins to lose control of its limbs. Now the healer starts to show signs of desperation. He picks up a handful of dust and throws it over the creature. He then attacks the poisonous spirit with a broom. The healer has now run out of ideas. Prayers, cloth, broom, nothing has had any effect. 5 minutes later, the healer admits defeat. He agrees to make a public confession.
আমাদের এখানে প্রতি বছর ওয়েস্ট বেঙ্গলে প্রতি বছর 20,000 লোককে স্নেক বাইট করে এবং তাদের বেশিরভাগ সবাই মারা যায় প্রতি বছর, এরকম ওঝাদের হাতেই মারা যায়। যার জন্য আমরা এখানে এটা করলাম এইটুকুন বোঝাতে, যাতে মানুষরা এই ধরনের ওঝাদের কাছে না যায়। এইটা কি হয়, আমাদের যেমন খরগোশ বা গিনিপিকের ওপর কত কিছু রিসার্চ ওয়ার্ক চলে, তারা মারা যায়, ঠিক এরকম একটা কুকুর মারা গেল বটে, কিন্তু এই যে প্রতি বছর ওয়েস্ট বেঙ্গলে 20,000 লোক স্নেক বাইটে মারা যাচ্ছে, সেটা বন্ধ করার জন্যই আমরা চেষ্টা করছি। কারণ তারা হসপিটালে মারা যেত না, ওঝাদের কাছে যাচ্ছে বলে মারা যাচ্ছে, আমরা সেটা বোঝাবার জন্যই এটা করলাম। এই জন্যই একে অনেকটা গিনিপিক বা খরগোশের মতোই প্রাণ দিতে হবে।
Prabir calls on the crowd to stand for 1 minute's silence out of respect for the dog which has died. The rationalists are not fighting a drawing room battle against traditional beliefs. Theirs is a raw, confrontational campaign to win the hearts and minds of the younger generation. Taking a leaf from the missionary's book, the Calcutta rationalists provide education for street children. In place of religion, they offer literacy and a rationalist message.
I think that what the rationalists are doing should have been done years before. But anyway, they are the first people to come out on the streets and resist this black tide of superstition.
But the rationalists are fighting against a tide which has been in flood for 3,000 years, against a religious hierarchy which has enormous influence, and against the entrenched beliefs of educated people who choose to turn their back on reason.
We consider him divine. There is no doubt about it.
And he gave me this ring out of nowhere, set with 9 gems.
It was materialized. It was created just by a wave of his hand.
I've got a master's degree in physics. I find nothing contradictory between that physics and the fact that I believe that this came out of the blue.
Those who don't see these contradictions may not take kindly to rationalists who ridicule their beliefs.
As the movement grows and becomes more of a threat to the powers that are there, it will increasingly invite confrontations. The next elections may be the time when the present parties will either seek to court the support of the rationalists or set themselves against the rationalists in a public way and say we are all for religion and against Prabir Ghosh and the rationalists, or come out with the idea that we are with the rationalist Prabir Ghosh and that is what we support.
Having said so much against horoscopy and forecasting the future, I'm not the one who's going to forecast what the future will hold. I can only be wishful and say, I hope that rationalism will triumph in this country as it has in some others.